You're hot and heavy. You want to marry this person. You don't care if they have a kid. You're willing to throw away the farm. That's what I always say, man. The worst thing anyone can do, the worst thing men can do is throw away the farm, throw away all you've worked for, all everything, just to have sex, just to have attention from a woman for one night or an hour or whatever. You have to understand, no matter how bad that urge is, no matter how long the drought's been, I get it. I understand. Trust me, I get it. But those things will come. And when they come, naturally, it'll be with somebody who you want to be with, who's not just going to be keeping you on the side, and playing games and not answering texts. And man, you have to be aware of these things. You got to be aware that we have a brain that it's designed to repeat. It's designed to keep kind of like after a task. But some of these tasks are not, you have to decipher, you have to discern, okay, this woman's doing this to me. This is not a person, even if I end up with this woman, what kind of relationship is that going to be? You're going to be chasing her around and playing games, and she might be going behind your back and half-hearted and all. You, you do not want this. What instead you want to do is this. Okay, here's the problem. Microphone. So here's the problem. This is what happened. You built up this woman in your head that doesn't exist except for in your head. It's it's hard to accept at first, but when you really start to think about this person that you've obsessed over and stayed up overnight and had that pit in your stomach, you ever have some? You're watching this video because you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of the biggest things I ever got over in my life was getting over like being obsessed with a woman. And then you realize, and even when you're going through it, this is not a great idea at all. This person, the baggage, the situation, whatever it is. But we make these things in our head. We make these fantasies, like these ideals, especially when we're desperate. I feel like when we're when we're reaching and we listen to too much noise. You know what I mean? The movies, people at work, your friends, all these bitter, negative people. They make you think like, oh man, time's running out. You got to find a woman. Time's running out. Jay, you're getting old, or whoever. Especially the women, man. They got the most pressure, I think, because if they don't have kids or they're married, they're considered. You know what us men say? We consider what if you're at 40 and you don't have. If you have kids or don't have kids, we consider you like what, damaged goods. That's a very narrow-minded way of thinking. So what's happened is you found this person that you think is one thing and they're not that. Okay, not to get into details, but you found this woman, maybe you guys have even had sex, and that makes it even worse because now it's all you're thinking about. You're obsessed. You're full-blown obsessed, especially if you're looking for a relationship, and now this woman who maybe you thought many things, maybe you thought you'd never be able to be with her, you'd never get her attention, or she's with someone, but for whatever reason now she's showing interest and there's a thing. But then after a little while it just kind of dies, but you're all obsessed now because what happened is you built this person up in your head, and this person isn't real. It's not that woman. It's what you think is that woman and what you want that person to be, but it is not. I'm not. You got to believe me, it is not that woman. It is not that person. You know what I mean? Maybe you met someone after you've been divorced a little bit. Now you're not used to dating. You're not used to, you're used to a certain lifestyle. You know what I mean? You're used to a very predictable, calm, that's how marriage usually is. It's nothing wrong with it. That's the beauty of it. But when you've been like that for so long in a long relationship, and that ends, and then now you find someone that's like the opposite of your ex, or some, I don't want to say a bad girl or a baddie, but like someone you just had your eye on, and you're like, well, and now all of a sudden, like I said, things get picking up, and now there's interest, but for whatever reason, it starts to fizzle maybe after a couple of weeks or a month, right? On her end, right? But on your end, the steam's picking up. You're hot and heavy. You want to marry this person. You don't care if they have a kid. You're willing to throw away the farm. That's what I always say, man. The worst thing anyone can do, the worst thing men can do is throw away the farm, throw away all you've worked for, everything, just to have sex, just to have attention from a woman for one night or an hour or whatever. You have to understand, no matter how bad that urge is, no matter how long the drought's been, I get it. I understand. Trust me, I get it. But those things will come. And when they come, naturally, it'll be with somebody who you want to be with, who's not just going to be keeping you on the side, and playing games and not answering texts. And man, games will be being played. People will not be on, women will not be, usually not be honest with you. They're going to play games and hope that you go away. And what do most men want to do? We want to chase even harder, because that's what the Hollywood movies said, right? Chase the woman, put the ghetto blaster up and intervene in their family life and put up their, you know, we all love these movies, right? We've seen them. What does that say? Anything? We've seen, but they taught us terrible. They taught us how to be a simp, basically. It's not being the cool guy chasing the woman. It is not. It's the opposite. It is. It's the facts. But until you see it, you know what I'm saying? If you're in the middle of something like this right now, you need to take a second. And deep down, I'm right. And deep down, that woman you're chasing, but you can't get her off your head. You can't shake it. You wake up in the morning, it's the first thing you think about. You're looking at that phone all the time, waiting for the text, right? Then you finally get the text and you jump all over it, and then you get nothing again for hours or a day or who knows. You have to understand, when you're in that panic mode and you're chasing, your survival instinct is like switched and left on. You got to shut that shit off somehow. You got to get used to that new skill. It's a new skill. So what you have to do is take some time, but you got to have a passion. Okay, not just a hobby. Have something, and I think you should have the passion and working out. I don't think working out should really be because you can only do so much of that. You need something you can go to all the time. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is for you. For me, it's always been this guitar, and I know guys that pick it up later in life. Because when you play guitar, when you play an instrument, you sit at a piano, keyboard, even just to do anything, even remotely musical, you have to have all your attention. It really will clear your mind. A few years ago, I was having panic attacks out of nowhere. Medicine, nothing, and I won't take antidepressants, so it was tricky. It worked. Every time I was having a panic attack, I'd grab a guitar and just start playing and focus, and every time it worked. And they went away, and I'm glad I didn't take the medicine. But you have to be aware of these things. You got to be aware that we have a brain it's designed to repeat. It's designed to keep kind of like after a task. But some of these tasks are not, you have to decipher, you have to discern, okay, this woman's doing this to me. This is not a person, even if I end up with this woman, what kind of relationship is that going to be? You're going to be chasing her around and playing games, and she might be going behind your back and half-hearted and all. You do not want this. What instead you want to do is this. And everything, when I started doing this in life, and I started to remind myself, things will come natural. You have to think to yourself, I'm going to have this person I want the way that, whatever. Or I'm going to get something better, but I don't want that. You have to say, I don't want that version of that. It's not what I thought it was, but I know something better. I don't know what it is. You have to understand, this universe is infinite, and where our pea brains are tiny. Think about how small humans are in this whole, think about how small a human is in your little town, let alone the state, let alone the world. I mean, you get what I'm saying. We're tiny ants, and think about how small the brain is in that shell up there. It's this thing. We're not as smart as we think we are. But I think if you can know that, I always say, know what you don't know. Be aware that you don't know everything. And be aware that there's information that you don't know, and always be aware that you should always be open-minded enough to where if something is differently presented to you and there's proof, you have to be open-minded enough to change. I change my mind all the time on things. And I have very few things I have a strong stance on, especially science and history. But because there's not enough proof, there's not enough definitive proof for me. So you have to know that this universe. Think about all the great things that happen when you're never thinking of it. That's how it happens. It's because you got to have an expectation. Don't be negative and expect, oh, I'm never going to find anyone. That's it. Yeah, she was my last hope. There's so many women out there, and you do not need. Here's the trick: you don't need anyone but you. Start being your best friend and hanging out with you first, and then also know that hey, I'm gonna get something better. I'm gonna get someone better, and it's gonna blow me away. So for now, I'm just gonna go back to my workouts, back to my guitar playing, make YouTube videos if that's what you do. Be light, be lighter in life, and things will come. If this person is texting you, the worst thing you can do, or is ghosting you, the worst thing you can do is rapid text and stress over the phone. You need to have this mind of yours. You don't got to tell anybody what's going on in there. That's your own little private world. So use it. Use it. Like, think to yourself, be cocky in there. As long as you're not an asshole to everybody else and arrogant, people don't like that. But be like David Lee Roth in your mind. Be like Mick Jagger. Think like, what would they think? They would think, but you got to believe it, and you have to believe it, and you will. Maybe at first it's uncomfortable. But you got to think, I'm going to get someone better. Like, oh my, I can't wait. I'm going to get whoever I want. Like, she doesn't know what she's missing, because that's the truth. In your world, that is the truth. Who cares if people laugh or think, oh man, Jay's crazy? But I don't care, man. I know what's going on here, and I know the the world is infinite. So if you're positive and you don't pay attention, because I'm going to tell you that woman that you're chasing or that you're torn over and you got knots in your stomach right now over, you're going to look back in 5 years or even in 5 months, hopefully sooner than that, and say, man, or hopefully this video wakes you up and you're going to realize I made this person up in my head. But you have to remind yourself because you're going to go to bed, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to be like, oh, but I love her. No, no, no. You don't love something that's not loving you and not respecting you ever. You got to love yourself that much. You are owed that much, or you walk away. It's that simple. So I hope I imparted some wisdom. If you're chasing a bad woman and you're obsessed, it's not healthy. It's not. It's one way, and you're chasing more. And because sometimes that happens, man. Sometimes you get hot and heavy with someone, and they got buyer's remorse, and you don't. In fact, you feel the opposite, and you want to start chasing, and then you start chasing, and the obsession starts. You know what I mean? It's you got to catch yourself there and say, all right, I'm going to let this one, and you'll be surprised. Many times, and this is another facet of it. Many times, you'll get ignore and forget about this person and finally get over them, and then like 6 months later, 2 months later, you get a text, and you're just like, really? Don't text back. No matter what, even if you want to, you can't text back. Never text back if that happens. And then hopefully you're with some great woman, or you're just solid and you're on your own with your good mind. You're like, you know what? I'm glad I avoided that. And then maybe text her the next day or hey, or do what you want, but don't text right away. I would wait at least a day or two. And I'd let if somebody's treating you that badly and you're at this point, then they're not owed anything and you're not being rude. If they think you're being rude, then let them think that. And good. Give them a taste of their own medicine. So have a passion. Go to that. You know, don't hang around these meatheads that are chasing women all the time. I've done that. It's stupid. It's pointless. It costs you money, and it'll only all it's going to do is attract bad women. Then what are you going to do? You're going to you're going to impregnate a bad woman just because you want to go out and have some action and ruin and give away the farm? No, sirree, Bob, not me. I have a flawless record, and I plan on having children very soon, actually. So I'm blessed. I'm lucky to get this far with no problems and no accidents. Anyways, I hope this helped. Always stop and think, and I wish you the best. That was stupid. So I hope I've imparted some wisdom. Always choose you over anyone else, unless you have kids. But always choose you over a shitty woman. All right.